Welcome to Lancashire Business Stories, the podcast that does exactly what it says on the tin. I'm your host, Paul Lim, and every week we're joined by local business owners to talk about their journey into business and how they've grown and scaled their own organisations. We'll talk about some of the challenges they've faced along the way and the successes that they've had in growing their businesses, so you, our listeners and viewers, can learn and apply those same principles into your own business, so you can grow and succeed. If this is the first time that you've watched or listened to the podcast, please hit the subscribe or follow button. Hope you enjoyed the show. Let's get to it. Chris Houghton, welcome to Lancashire Business Stories.
Hello there.
As per usual on the story, we're going to talk about your background, how you got to where you are now.
Yep.
But we always start by talking about the business that you're involved with, which is Eventura.
Yep.
So can you tell us a little bit about what Eventura does and the kind of people that you help and the problems that you solve for people?
Eventura is essentially a one-stop and business systems partner. We deal with everything essentially that's got a plug on it. We'll deal with servers, infrastructure, time and attendance systems, weighing machines, you name it, and all that links back into the business systems processing for warehousing, distribution, manufacturing companies, straight into finance and financial systems. But more importantly, we deal with that as a one-stop shop. So we're not just dealing with one area of it, we deal with the whole thing, which puts us really in competition with the bigger boys. It's a smaller environment because a lot of people that we compete with tend to be experts in one area. It's in ERP or it's in hardware or it's in infrastructure. So we elevate ourselves up to that top level. And even more so, we do it across the world. We've got implementations currently going in. One implementation is going into 9 countries at the moment. North and South America, all over Europe's Far East.
Do they tend to be companies that are based in the UK but are international companies?
Yeah. Historically, yes. I would say 95% of our customers are based in the UK.
Yeah.
Since we opened our offices in the Mediterranean, we've started getting, from our Malta office, we've got office companies now buying into the idea from Malta and expanding out. In the main, those are expat companies, so they're the companies that English people who want somebody to deal with locally, even though English is it's the second prescribed language in Malta anyway, so it's not a problem. But I think the familiar voice, dare I say it, northern tones is quite good for people who are from the north, have based themselves out there for other financial reasons, which I can go into, and they want to speak, they can speak to. Yeah. And we'll help them expand into Europe from there, get the systems in place, and in a lot of cases expand from Europe and then into Asia Pac or into the Americas. Brilliant. From that base.
Great. In terms of the size of businesses that you deal with, is it everybody, or would you say there's a sort of lower limit in terms of the ideal businesses for you?
So I'll give you an example. We don't like to set those limits. We want to talk to the aspirations of the people who we're working with, and if we can see the journey with them, we'll take a new startup. But it depends really what they want to try and do. We took out a business many years ago, 5 people in a shed, literally, in Manchester, in Rusholme, and it grew to be misguided and then became part of Sheen. Yeah. And so we could see that.
You could see the growth path.
And ended up with 400 people on the system, loads of warehousing systems, and then eventually sold out to...
That was definitely a gamble worth taking then.
Yeah, so it's that level. And, you know, if I looked at me, would a big company like my first customer was Umbro, would a big company like Umbro look at me today as a one-man band starting off? I'm not sure they would, but we had the relationship previously, and that's what it is. So I've took that on board, and in all my sort of career as a business owner, I've tried to use all the best bits of all the big blue chip companies that I've worked for and ignored the bad bits. Yeah. Really well.
Let's talk a little bit about your background then, since you mentioned some of the blue chips that you work for. How did you get started? What's your background?
Okay.
To where you are now?
Born in the UK, born in Bolton, I can tell with the accent. Lived here for 6 weeks and then went out to Malta when my father was in the Navy there. So I lived for 11 years out there doing the stuff that you do in Malta and the languages and learning different things, which is quite good. Swimming, quite a lot of swimming. And then came back when Don Mintoff took over and kicked the British out effectively from Malta. My father was a proud Royal Navy, and then he wouldn't renounce his nationality for nobody. Right. So within a couple of weeks we were back in Bolton. Yeah. And then obviously went through school in here and so on and so forth. And at 16, 1980s, 81, it was another one of those periods of time when there was a recession. And my father was made redundant, so I just thought, I'm not going to put any more burden on my parents. So I went out and got a job and joined the military and did bits and pieces, doing work for the military sector, really eventually writing software and systems for defence systems for the Ministry of Defence, which took me around the world quite well, doing sea trials and so on. And then finally joined the IBM world and started working in System 36, System 38, AS400 type systems and implementing them pretty much everywhere on the planet. To be honest, I've been doing that for a while. And for years, people have been telling me, you should really start on your own, you should really go on your own. And eventually, after seeing my kids, my son actually, a very short period of time before he started playing his first football game at 11, I just thought, I'm flying around getting lots of money, lots of remuneration, but not living.
Yeah.
I decided that I was going to go back and flew back from Atlanta and told the boss and said, look, I'm going. And he said, go and think about it. And come back Monday morning, they asked for voluntary redundancies.
Really?
And he did me
So
real solid.
he probably knew what was coming.
He knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And so I took the money from the voluntary redundancy package and thought, that's my pool. That's what I'm going to use. And when I run out of money, I'll go and find a job. If I don't, I've got a business started. So I started really on my own in a single office at home in the garage.
And that's when Eventura
That's when Eventura started, yeah. I was looking for a name. It's a bit of an Italian pun, Eventura, which means my business.
Okay.
You speak Italian, Maltese, you get that sort of level.
Multi-talented, aren't you?
Well, it's just, you get, living in Malta, 2 TV stations, one in English, one in Maltese, a few Italian stations, 2 football teams that support Juventus or Man United. I like Man United. I've not got, they call me a pinky because I don't hate them, but I'm a Bolton Wanderers fan and that's where I am through and through. And for me, you just get on with it. And one thing that you'd say to people who are starting off is, you are going to get knocked down. You absolutely are. And it's not about what you do when you get knocked down. Get up, pick up your musket and carry on and keep doing it. Because every time you get knocked down, you've learned something.
Yeah, it's about resilience, isn't it? You know,
you've
just
got
that
to keep
ability
going.
to learn from mistakes.
You've got to keep going, and people will do you in, and people will, short you out, and people won't pay you when you're doing the jobs and all that sort of stuff. There's a big sort of joke in my circles of friends. They say, how do you make a Maltese cross? And they say, and the answer is, don't pay him. Because if I've done the job, I won't be paid.
So you started off on your own, working from home? Or,
working from home in the garage,
and what were you doing when you started out?
Initially, it was just consultancy work, business systems consultancy and server support for AS400s and stuff like that. And then I took an agency for a piece of software, which became part of Info, called MoveX, which was sold into a company called Umbro from Manchester. And that was the biggest thing in that first 2 years, was that job, and it gave us 2 years worth of work effectively. And then from that position, we rapidly went from me, within the first year, to 4 people. We took offices in the business centre then, Bolton Business Centre, on where the baths used to be in Bolton. We took that office and it was great. And we ended up with 6 offices in there eventually after about 5 years. And they asked us to leave because we were actually taking over
the centre.
The centre as an incubation centre, and we had something like 15 people in there at the time. So then we bought the offices out on the other side in Bolton and took a lease out for another office, which we grew. And then eventually I just decided that leasing's great, but you're putting money into other people's pockets. Yeah. So went to the bank, showed them the balance sheet, showed them the P&L. They backed us for a loan for a building, and we found a building and built our own place.
Yeah.
And as soon as you do that, you get that stability and that this is our place, this is our home, and you can actually showcase what you're doing. I've got to say, some family and friends who helped me stump up the deposit, because it was quite a bit of deposit on a £1 million development, and the bank obviously wants to keep their investment tidy, so we had to put up 10%. And 10 years on, it's nearly paid for.
You started off with consultancy work and grew a little bit from there. How did you get from there to where you are now in terms of the kind of services you were offering?
So the services we started off were IT services with a bit of IT consultancy. Then we took partnerships for the major ERP players, Sage's in the UK, Epicor, SAP, SAP, and Oracle. And we're finalised now on the 2, Sage for most UK-based, depending on the requirement, and Oracle for most international requirements, although there is a bit of a crossover depending on the type of business.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I learned from an old guru, Sir John Ivor Jones, if you remember him from
I do indeed, I remember watching the TV programmes.
I was an avid follower of his thought and read his books and so on, especially one which I remember, a book called Making Change and Making It Stick, which was a great book. And one of the things he said was, as a business owner, you can only grow to the time you can put into it. So straight away, I started to think about ways I could get myself out of the business and put other people in to do the work I was doing. Yeah. And I think in management, sort of consultancy terms, they call it sport management. He's sat in the middle and you're making all the decisions for everybody. Very quickly, when there was about maybe 10, 12 of us, I decided to put 2 people beneath me doing one operations, one sales, and then build it up from that position so then I could make them responsible for the things I was doing. Yeah. I would still be then the glue or the infill when one of them was off. Yeah. I could jump into those because I was doing all the roles. And as a new business, you do everything. You've got to, and don't be frightened of doing that. It grounds you. Yeah. It really does ground you. Even today, I will do anything, literally, in the business.
Yeah. I think for most business owners who are out there, building a business should be relatively simple, but it's hard work. If you put the right frameworks and you have the right mindset in place, and it can be fairly simple, but it's going to be tough. You need to put a lot of work into it to make it work.
The simple wins for me were the ability on Friday at 12 o'clock to say, I'm going watching my son play football, or I'm going to watch my daughter do a dance recital or something, and not feel guilty about doing it. Yeah. Even though in the previous positions where I was a high position, I could pretty much do my own time anyway. Yeah. But you always felt guilty about taking the afternoon off or either. But with this, I was exchanging zeros in the numbers for O's in love, and that's really what I was doing.
Somebody said to me, and I can't remember who it was the other week, said, "Do you know how kids spell time? LOVE." Yeah.
I never heard that, but yeah,
I think it's such a brilliant analogy.
And that value, that time, nobody can ever take that away from you. You can never buy it. So for me, my family's the best thing for me. So it's not like money's great. The money's there to facilitate the things you want to do with your kids and your family. That's really where I am.
I think the challenge for a lot of business owners, and you've done it really well, but in your corporate role where you were around the world and you were time poor in terms of your family, a lot of business owners have exactly the same challenge, not because they're jetting around the world, but just because they're locked into the business, doing the do all day, working on weekends, missing the kids growing up, missing picking them up from school and all that kind of thing. And I've got to say, because you're in another job.
No, I've got to say I was guilty of that. I was sat at home working till 2, 3 a.m. in the morning doing proposals, all that sort of stuff. And it was in that period of time where you're questioning yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth it? What's the point of doing this? And then you do this Friday afternoon and you go, that's the reason why I'm doing it. Yeah. I'm doing it for that reason. Yeah. And eventually you come to a position where you actually, it suddenly dawns on you that you can be free and decide that you want to do something. And I decided fairly quickly that I wasn't going to deal with customers that were awkward. If they didn't have our values, I wasn't going to deal with them. And I've never been in that position because in corporate world, it doesn't matter. No. You can deal with them. They can be as obnoxious as they can to you and your staff. Yeah. But you've got to deal with them. And whereas this time, what I do is I say to people, we measure people fairly quickly, and when we visit them, like today, how quickly do they offer you a brew? Yeah. If they offer you a brew as soon as you get there, they value your time, they value you being there. And in some cases, we've been in and we've been there for a full day and never even offered a bottle of water or a glass of water. Yeah. And you think, how much do these people value us? Sort of thing. Yeah. And it's that sort of level of freedom, really. Yeah.
And we often get our clients to rate their customers, A, B, C's and D's, where the A's are the awesome ones and the D's are the ones that really should be dead to them. Yeah. The time vampires, the ones they probably don't, when they work out how much time they're having to spend with them and how much hassle they have with them, they're probably not worth dealing with and don't make any money out of them. Yeah. So we get our clients to look at how to get more A-list customers rather than the C's and the D's. Yeah, absolutely. And I think values and culture is so important.
And I think that you go through the growth spurts and you get a lot of work in and you're busy and you can't get enough people to do the work. Then you plateau, then something else happens and you get another growth spurt. And that's where we're at the moment. We've been through, obviously COVID was a massive sign for us because we were dealing with MOD companies and pharmaceutical companies. So we couldn't close. We never furloughed anybody. We didn't even take a loan. We didn't do anything. We just carried on as we were. We carried on doing the things that we did, but from home in the main. 1 or 2 people going into the office doing the essential work, looking after servers and so on and so forth. But then they were on a rota basis, so they never met, and that sort of thing. And that took us to a stupid position in terms of, I think in one afternoon we were asked for 900 laptops. Wow. For people being moved from the offices to work from home, and we just couldn't find them. So we ended up having to speculate and buy them on the market as quickly as possible while everybody's trying to buy them. It's that sort of thing that you've got to be able to do. And from a naval family, I always try to put analogies on from the Navy. So I always say to people, we started off as a little rowboat, and we're doing this rowboat, and we're competing against the big tankers that are people like that. And we grew, and in that rowboat, we can stop and start as quickly, we can turn it around really quickly, where the tanker's taking a mile to turn, and it's just, and even today we see our competitors, customers are saying, why does it take 6 weeks for them to come back to us when you can do it in a day? And why is that? Because we're that smaller boat.
You're small and agile.
We're agile.
Yeah, you're more like a speedboat now than a rowing boat.
Yeah, I would say we're more like a frigate now. So we're not as powerful as the big aircraft carrier or anything, but and we can put a big dent in it. We can keep our own sort of, but we've still got that ability to turn it up and spin around and change course really quickly. The other thing I would say to people who are starting out, you must have a vision of where you want to be, but don't fix the route of where that want to be is, because things will come and knock you left and right.
Just like COVID.
And you've got to keep, you know where you want to be, but you've got to be agile enough and be enough to say, actually, we're going to move this, we're going to do that. And recently, for example, the onset of AI and the way that ChatGPT changed things has changed our industry significantly. We've seen huge amendments in support and the way that we're doing things. But we've decided not to fight it over 2 years ago, not fight it, but embrace it and put it and embed it within our offerings and what we're trying to do. But make people aware of what they can do and what they can't do with AI and how that works. And the fact that it still imagines 20% of what it gives you, so be very wary.
We use Claude a lot in our business, and we have a coaches club call every morning, and we talk about AI every single day now in our coaches club, because we're developing the systems for ourselves, and we're talking to our clients about how they use AI. And I think anybody who ignores it or tries to push it away is doing the wrong thing. And they've got to embrace it, but they've got to embrace it in the right way. So if they've got mundane tasks that are repeatable tasks that potentially can be systemised, systemise them first on paper and then look at how AI can help you. Because the challenge is most people look at AI as this panacea and they've no systems in the business, and all of a sudden they start trying to get AI to do stuff for them. It's not even systemised in their head and on paper yet.
So there's two analogies there. When we implement warehouse management systems, our consultants go around the warehouse and look around, and very quickly we can see whether a warehouse management system will be implemented in that company. And typical things like pallets in alleyways, stock everywhere. They've not got the discipline to actually put stock away properly yet. And it doesn't matter whether somebody sends them a bit of paper down from the office to say put this in A3, or whether the system tells them to put it in A3. If they put it in A4, it's not worth it. No. So what we say to companies, look, you've got to get your disciplines right first before, and it's also that those disciplines are the backstop. If the system goes down, you use those disciplines again. We do that with warehouse management. Same with AI. AI systems are great once you know that the manual system works correctly, then you can automate it. We have a statement, first into production, then perfection. So get it working, get it right, iron out all the bugs, and then automate the crap out of it.
Absolutely.
And many companies we deal with who, on the face of it, seem very successful and quite in the background, it's chaos.
It's that graceful swan, very serene on the surface and paddling like hell underneath, trying to keep going.
And we see a lot of that. It's difficult because in a lot of cases we're managing companies that are family-owned businesses, maybe second and third generation businesses, but it's their baby as well. So we try to advise them and say, look, you need to do this slightly differently. You can't run the business in an autocratic way. You've got to release and let the staff do what they need to do, and you're paying staff to do that work, so let them do that work. So it's that sort of discussion. And I went through it. I got to a stage where I just thought, I can't keep checking everybody's work. You're just going to have to release it and let them run it.
It's funny because we talk to our business owners, and a lot of the time it's about mindset. It's about what's going on in people's heads. And the two biggest things that come to mind for me whenever we're talking to business owners, because they don't want to let go of things, is number one, nobody can do it better than I can. And number two, why should I pay somebody else to do it when I can do it myself? And they're both false economies, because they're never going to grow the business and create more time for themselves if they won't let go.
So like I said to you, for me, if you speak to any HR department, it's 37 and a half hours you work. Rubbish. As a business owner, probably more like 70. You work, but then 70 is your time limit. That's all you can do. If you're charging £1,000 an hour, you're still only charging 70 hours. It doesn't matter. No. So from a business growth perspective, it's where do you put your time that's best used for your business? And one of the things I did fairly early was appoint a PA. And people go, oh, it's PAs. Who do you think you're trying to be? I'm not. It's about value. And do I want to be able to do all these things? Do I want to book hotels? Do I want to do expenses? Do I want to do all these sorts of things? Do I want to organise meetings and do minutes? When actually somebody could do that, and not probably, way better than I can do it, and I can get it off my plate and I can do stuff that actually adds value to the business. In a lot of cases, that's just thinking.
Yeah, a lot of the time, because your job is to set the strategy for moving forwards and to get the business moving in the right direction. In other cases, it might be that the owners of the business are still involved in the high value sales kind of stuff. And why would you be doing £20 and £25 an hour tasks, or even £15 an hour tasks, when you could be doing the hundreds or thousands of pounds an hour tasks?
Absolutely.
We've had that situation a few times with clients.
You look at it, and time management, and again, one of the things I would ask people to do is get on a time management skill and course and get yourself concentrating on the 20% that makes 80. Get looking at that, because as you start to grow, your time will get less and less, and your priority is your family. So use your time at work to get more time to get priority for your family.
I always say to people, it's not, if you stop thinking about time management and just start thinking about the decisions that you make on how you utilise the time that you have. Because we've all got 24 hours. It's just amazing that some entrepreneurs manage to run 20 businesses in that 24 hours, and some people struggle to run one business in 24 hours. So looking at Eventura then, obviously you're spending less time now doing
in that business,
in the business, and your son's playing a much bigger role in that business now, Lewis.
Since September last year,
Can you tell us about that succession and the thought behind it, and how you're moving forward?
Lewis joined us at university. We had a discussion. It's something he wanted to go into as a business, so he did a business systems analysis and business systems in business IT in business degree. And typical sort of student life would be go and get drunk in the first couple of years and then cram it in the end. But then in order to get drunk, you need money, especially these days with the student loans. So they work behind a bar or something stupid, or they do something, and then they spend that money in that same bar that they work in typically. So I just said to them, look, you can do that, or you can work for us. You can spend your evenings doing the tasks that we want, and your weekends, give you time to do your dissertations, and we'll pay you, but then you'll have money to actually go and, if you wanted to go on a Friday afternoon, go and have a few drinks with your mates, whatever it is. And so then from 18, he's now 35, he's worked in the business and he's done every role. So I've made sure he's done pretty much every role before elevated him through sales, which he's very good at, marketing, and obviously in September managing director. So he now runs the business. I'm doing less and less. I'm getting less and less involved in the day-to-day, and I get involved on a quarterly basis on a board meeting. That's pretty much it. If there's a big decision that needs to be made, or there's a big client or a big new prospect that they feel I can contribute and add value to, I'll get invited now, which is nice, which also means I can do other things, which is expanding the group, if you will, into other areas. So I've now got 5 businesses, not all in IT, so trying to spread the portfolio a little bit more.
Can you tell us a little bit about your other businesses while you're here?
Yeah, I'm working with the university on employing AI technologies in crime fighting. We've got quite a bit of work. I say too much about that because it's quite on a PI basis. It's IP basis. It's quite tight, but using the technologies to help the forces to fight crime. Small and business. I'm looking at a bar and restaurant at the moment in Malta, which is something I'm looking at as a diversion from other things. My father was a publican, had pubs in Bolton, so I know that business pretty well. Lived in it, got married out of it, that sort of thing. And I'm also looking at a clothing business at the moment, because my background from the IBM world was actually in clothing. I worked with probably the biggest clothing brands in the world, and I want to bring that to a small micro business and try and set up a brand that is niche. Don't want to compete with the M&S's of this world, but niche.
I think Richard Branson, who said, if you can run one business well, then you can run multiple businesses well. It's the same theory and framework that you need for every business, and the same thinking, the same mindset.
And that's where I am with it. I'm looking at that sort of level and saying, I can put to work the lessons I've learned over 25 years, nearly 25 years of running Eventura, to start new ones and avoid the potholes in the road that I've jumped in and filled in and done all that sort of thing, and try and do that and make it as best I can. And in doing so, get a bit of satisfaction for I built that sort of thing, and give people some work, and everybody wins. That's the main thing.
And you mentioned that you got an office in Malta. Now, and I know you spend a lot of time in Malta. In fact, you're heading off there tomorrow, aren't you?
I am, yes. We have offices in Malta that run some of obviously the European office and the bar restaurant, which I'm involved in. But I'm also got a daughter who lives in Malta. She emigrated out there from Bolton 15 years ago. 5 grandchildren under 10. So,
They'll keep you busy then.
So they keep me busy.
And does your daughter work in the business?
She runs the Malta office, so
Right.
she's an accountant, ex-HSBC, so she runs that office.
Yeah.
She also heads up the global ERP team, because we have a global ERP team from that office.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
We've got to go live at the end of June from Malta, which is our first multinational go live from that office, which is quite good, and we've got all the people from that office in our offices working with us. It's not a bad place to work on the beach.
And do you see other offices in the future in different locations
so
around the world?
until recently, until we had that little fracas in the Far East, we were looking at Dubai. I was actually scheduled to go out there to speak to some colleagues who I know out there to open an office potentially in Dubai, and we're currently engaged with companies in Australia and in the Eastern Board of America to open offices there to give us the 24-hour support structure. That's going well, and we're hoping to get that up before the end of the financial year to get that embedded, so we can offer our clients full 24-hour support from within our client, from within ourselves.
Yeah.
A lot of our competition farm it out to third parties, and it's not really good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get somebody to take a call, get somebody to log an email, and it comes back to you. They can't actually do anything about it. It's just somebody to pick up the phone.
So you want to do it all, keep it all in-house.
Keep it all in-house, keep the standards up,
Yeah.
make sure that the people have got access to the systems that we have, access to those sorts of things. There's a lot of movement in the marketplace at the moment, especially with the current sort of climate, so people are holding purse strings and things like that. So you've got to be able to differentiate yourself from others. And one of those reasons is access.
Yeah. I feel normally we talk about what's in the future, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years hence, but I feel like we should probably get Lewis in for another podcast interview at some point to talk about
certainly.
his experience of coming on board and succeeding for you into the MD role and what's in the future for Eventura.
You try to guide them and present them with all the options and give them as much grounding as possible. And that's the key thing for me. He needed to be grounded. He needed to understand what every member of staff had to do in their jobs, and also what our customers are thinking. And he also needed to understand that it wasn't a given for him. He had to earn it. And yes, he's got the capability. We're a family business. Who else is it going to go to? It's going to go to my son. Anybody who doesn't think that is crazy.
Yeah.
So, but it was when the time was right. So he was very patient. He'd done all the roles. But then when he did take over the role, within 6 months, he was back to me saying, I didn't realise how hard this is. And I said, I tried to.
Yeah.
And so a bit like a consigliere. If I advise him usually on a Friday afternoon, we have a chat about what's going on.
Yeah.
We've not quite got to the glass of wine and some dipping bread yet, but we just have a chat. What's in your mind? What do you think? What's been good this week? What hasn't?
Yeah.
Just give him some advice on how to approach things. But if I silver spoon him and spoon feed him every day, he's not going to learn. He's not going to. No. He's not going to fall over and pick up his musket.
Yeah, you've got to allow people to make mistakes. Yeah. It's when we talk to people about building great teams, you've got to allow an element of risk taking. You've got to allow that people to think for themselves and make decisions. And
so one of the things we tell all staff is we tell them that we have some kindergarten rules.
Yeah.
We teach them when they join us. Don't tell lies. Don't tell lies to anybody. Don't tell to customers. If it doesn't do it, tell him he doesn't do it, because it'll just bite you in the bum later on if you don't. Keep it simple. Don't hit anyone. So we don't diss our competition. The competition does what they do. Yeah. We do what we do. Just be nice in the playground. Yeah. And clean up your own mess. So if you do make a mistake, put your hand up and say, made a mistake. We have no problem with people making mistakes. It's when they try to hide it that we have the issue. And if they make the same one over and over again. But making a mistake, there was only one person ever made a mistake, and they crucified him. So for me, it's do it. And the final one is one from my thought leader, is eschew obfuscation. Refrain from making it complicated. Effectively, the word in itself is complicated, but it's just keep it simple. Keep it nice and simple. If a pen and paper is the right advice for a client, and say, look, like we talk about with warehouse management system, get your systems in place first. Make sure that people are doing the right things. And if you can't change the people, sort of thing, get that, and then you can automate it. Otherwise, you're just throwing money at a car that's going down the wrong road. Yeah,
those are good rules, great rules for business and great rules for life. And I think in terms of those kind of that culture and those values, they're the foundation for every business. You've got to have a great set of values in every business. And we use the analogy of a game of football. You've got tight rules and loose rules. You've got some tight rules in terms of the pitch and what happens when it goes out, the ball goes outside the pitch. But then you've got some more looser rules for when the game's in flow and playing, and you've got to live within those tight rules and loose rules.
Yeah.
I'm conscious of time. We're coming towards the end of the interview now,
no
but a couple of quick fire questions. You didn't mention resilience earlier on when you were talking about people going into business, but if you had one other piece of advice for a younger person who's maybe thinking about starting their own business right now, what would that be?
This is going to sound weird, but I would say don't think you can do it on your own. You are on your own, but buddy up with somebody who knows, has been through it, whether it's an action coach or a friend or somebody who's in big business who can mentor you through it, or somebody that'll just listen.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because it's a lonely road, trust me. You've got to get together with people that are of a like mind.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to vent out and say to people, I'm sick of this going on, or whatever it is. And somebody go, I got that as well, and this is how I dealt with it. And you go, come on, I think of that. And rather than it taking you 3 or 4 weeks, it might take you a day if you've got somebody who you can talk to. So that's one of the things I would do. And the other one is read. Read as much as you can. Suck it all in. Buy Audible. Get books while you're driving around between meetings. Get books in about business and new products and new services, and just absorb as much as you can.
Okay.
I'm very much into Jordan Peterson's work at the moment. So all of his work is 12 Rules for Life and all that sort of stuff. All that sort of stuff. You take it, you might not agree with all of it, but take it, understand what he's trying to say.
Yeah. He's one of the guys that I listen to all the time when I'm looking at socials and clips and things. Some of the sound bites that he has are
Tremendous.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I've seen him live,
Absolutely
fantastic,
brilliant. And you mentioned Sir John Ivor-Jones earlier on. Is there anybody else in particular, any books that you would say are good books for business owners?
Yeah, there's a number, obviously, depending on which industry you're in. There's all the Schoenberger stuff to do with manufacturing and production, which is quite good in terms of that. But I'd also look at any of the top books. So get into Audible, look at the top business books and read those. There's one particular one, which is The 4-Hour Week.
Yeah.
Which I think is,
I haven't read that yet, but I had it recommended to me a couple of weeks ago.
And it's making that, to me, over the last 6 months, is making more and more sense.
Yeah.
You spend the 4 hours doing what you need to do.
Doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
Chris, it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you. Thank you very much for your time. And I look forward to talking to you again in the future. And maybe we'll get Lewis on, get his perspective on it. So thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks very much. Thank you.